You're listening to Ciminelli Chats, where we aim to share the latest Ciminelli company news, real estate industry insights, and announcements. Brad Hahn from Explore Buffalo joins us today for this episode of Ciminelli Chats. Brad is one of the founders of Explore Buffalo and currently serves as the executive director. We've had the pleasure of getting to know Brad through Ciminelli's recent partnership with Explore Buffalo to provide free downtown Buffalo walking tours on Thursdays this summer. Needless to say, we were super thankful he was willing to come on the podcast to talk about his time at Explore Buffalo and how the nonprofit organization continues to connect the community with the city's rich history and architecture. We hope you enjoy. So to start, do you mind introducing yourself and talking a little bit about what you do?
Sure. So good morning. I'm Brad Hahn. I am the executive director at Explore Buffalo. So I've been at Explore Buffalo for 10 years, our entire history. And in my role, I lead our tours and programs and oversee the tours that we offer to over 20,000 people a year.
So in a nutshell, what is Explore Buffalo all about? I know it's more than just walking tours.
What we're really all about is connecting people, whether they're somebody who's lived in Western New York their entire life, or a student in a local school, or somebody who's visiting here from as far away as Australia, to our neighborhoods, to our history, to our architecture, to Buffalo stories. And we do that through primarily our tour program that is led by volunteer docents. So they're people who are passionate about Buffalo history and architecture and telling those stories. They do this, they lead these tours because they want to. And so they bring this passion and this excitement, this energy to the tours that they lead all across the city, all across Western New York.
What brought you to Explore Buffalo?
So I started as a volunteer docent myself back in 2011. It was the year the National Trust for Historic Preservation Conference came to Buffalo. Wasn't why I chose to be a docent, it just happened to be that year. And that was kind of a moment when a lot of people in Buffalo realized that people are coming from across the country, around the world to take tours here, literally. So that conference brought about 2,500 people to Buffalo, and I remember there were a lot of Buffalo News did this whole full page insert spread on the people who were coming here and the buildings they were looking at, and it really kind of woke up this interest locally. And so I just started leading some tours myself, and Buffalo was still had a lot of work to do. We still have a lot of work to do, but I remember when I started doing those tours, the Hotel Lafayette was still, painted bright blue on the outside. It was still a mess. A couple years later, it's, now a gem and someplace where we included on many of our downtown tours. So in 2013, when the group that was starting Explore Buffalo wanted to start the group, they wanted somebody to, run things. And so they asked me to be the executive director of the group.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of coordination. Yeah. My gosh, when you're talking about this many tours, and I'm thinking about even just on a small scale, like what we do here for events, I can't imagine coordinating all of this.
So our volunteers are great. We've got a great team in our office as well. So, and like I said, it wouldn't be possible without all of those volunteers who are doing these tours because they love to do it.
Yeah. That's awesome. How long has Explore Buffalo been around?
This year we're celebrating our 10th anniversary, so we're excited to be doing that. When we started, I was the only employee. We had about 30-some volunteers. We offered about 20 different tours, and this year, to celebrate that, all of the tours that we offered in that first season are 10-year tours. We've been running them for 10 years. They're all $10 for this year. So it's a nice mix, and like I said earlier, we've gone from doing 20-some tours, 30-some volunteers to now over 200 volunteers, about 80 different tours that we offer.
Wow, so that's a lot of growth, I would say. Was it almost like an instant hit with the community, or was it something that kind of had to build over time?
Some of each. Right off the bat, there was some skepticism. Has Buffalo really got enough interest to sustain a organization like they have in Boston or Chicago or other bigger cities that really focuses on our history, our architecture, just through tours, a standalone tour nonprofit organization. And right off the bat, that very first year, we had about 6,000 people take a tour. The following year, we doubled to about 13,000. Wow. So it was quick growth, especially at first, and then it's continued to grow since then.
That's awesome. And what's the process like to become a tour guide? I think that's one of the things that interests me the most, especially since you offer so many different tours and different subject matter. So is it kind of like they get to pick and choose, or is it more about, what you need?
So to become one of our volunteer tour guides or docents, the new docent, and there's no requirement, you don't have to have a history background or an architecture background or something like that. You don't need to be a historian. What we look for is people who are going to be passionate about telling the stories, who are going to be excited, who are going to bring that energy to the tours. And to start with, they go through about a 12-week training class where they learn the basics of Buffalo history, basics of Buffalo architecture, and the basic how-tos of how to give a good tour. And as part of that, they get to pick one from, depending on the year, 4, 5, 6 different tours that we've selected that are good tours for a first-year docent to learn. And once they've learned that tour, mastered that tour, been giving that tour generally for at least a couple months or a year, something like that, they can choose to learn other tours. So they can continue giving just the same tour for years. Some docents do that. They give one tour. They're happy with that one tour. That's great. Others learn a different tour every year and now give, 8, 10 different tours.
Okay. And as far as the subject matter for tours is concerned, how do you go about selecting that?
A lot of it's really driven by those volunteers, and they're the ones who do all of the research to create the new tours. It's
really?
not me. We have a staff of 6, so we're not creating 80-some tours, generating all of that content. It's the volunteers who either individually or in a small group, 2, 3, something like that. Generally over the winter, we'll sit down and come up with an idea. We'll say, I think we should have a tour of this neighborhood, or we haven't really covered this topic or time period in Buffalo history. And we did a lot of this during the pandemic. The pandemic was, we generated over the winter of, I think, 20 to 21, over 15 new tours, because a lot of this research can be done online now, and people are stuck at home. And so it was very easy for people to create these ideas into something kind of fun to do, I suppose, during that otherwise difficult time. So an average year, we roll out usually 7 or 8 different tours, new tours. And again, the volunteers come up with it. Sometimes they have a personal connection. So one of our new tours that we're launching in July of 23, starting on July 1st, is a tour of Concordia Cemetery, which is a historic cemetery on the east side. One of our docents lives nearby, has been working with the group there. The cemetery was essentially abandoned in 2001, totally overgrown, just a complete mess, a real shame for that property and the people who were buried there. And an all-volunteer group has taken over managing it, restoring it, researching the people there. And so she's part of that group and said, we should offer a tour here. I said, great. So you do the research and we'll do it. Yeah. And so that's what we're going to start offering in July.
That's really cool. It makes it a lot more personal, I would say, that you're actually having community members that have a connection to these places, talking about something that they care about. As far as what's most popular with the community, are there ones that kind of surprise you, or are there some easy hitting items that I know we have our June 22nd tour coming up this Thursday. That's a pretty big one for you guys.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of real favorites for people. So this week we have the Twilight Tour of Mansions, which is back for the first time since the pandemic. So it's 2 days away. As of right now, we've sold over 900 tickets to it. So we're looking forward to a great day. Weather looks perfect. So people really love to get inside these beautiful historic homes. And as far as the regular walking tours that we offer, that Twilight Tour is once a year. The regular walking tours, it's a real mix. And with 80-some different tours, we have something really for everyone. So for people who are into the more historic architecture or neighborhood architecture, you want to learn about Victorian house styles, we've got tours for that. For people who want more of sort of the seedy side of Buffalo history, we've got our Scandalous Buffalo Tour, which always draws a crowd. So, like I said, we've really got something for everyone.
Yeah, and I saw there was the Prohibition Cruise as well, which is super neat. I didn't realize that you could actually go on water for a tour.
Yeah, so we partner with the Miss Buffalo, and we offer the Prohibition Cruise a couple times during the summer. Important disclaimer, while it's about Prohibition, the bar is open on the Miss Buffalo, so there's no, quote, prohibition enforced on the boat, because it's, usually a beautiful summer day, and people want to have a drink or two while we're out on the water. So it's a fun time to, tell some of those stories from Buffalo in the 1920s when the Niagara River was kind of a war zone of prohibition enforcement and the government really trying to stop alcohol from coming across the border over the river, and in most cases not really succeeding.
So you do walking tours, bike tours, and boat tours?
And bus tours.
Okay.
So walking tours are the majority of what we offer, 95% plus of what we do are walking tours. So say in the month of July, we just did our July full calendar is on our website. So we've got, I want to say it was 283 tours on the website right now for the month of July. Of that, 250, 260, some are going to be walking tours, and maybe a dozen or so are bike tours, and a handful of bus tours, and then one Prohibition cruise. So
awesome.
So just to kind of switch gears a little bit here, this is our first year Ciminelli partnering with Explore Buffalo to offer tours on Thursdays. What has sponsorship been like? Now that you've become such a big part of the community. I'm only 2 years into Buffalo, and when I was looking for things to do in the city, Explore Buffalo was one of the first things that popped up. So clearly, you're making a big impact here.
Yeah, so we're really excited with this new Thursday series. It's gone really well for the first couple weeks since we started on June 1st. So it's, I think, a great way to partner with a great business, so Ciminelli, and the great work you do here with the properties downtown and across the city, and to connect people with downtown. That's really the goal of this partnership, is to bring more people downtown. And as I've talked to people who are on some of these tours, I like to pop in and see who's coming to these tours. A lot of them are people who are local and maybe wouldn't have taken a tour even if it was $10, $15, but
right.
They see something's free. Free is really attractive. So it's bringing people downtown who otherwise maybe wouldn't be downtown, and we hope that it'll encourage them to keep coming back downtown.
Right, yeah, I'm talking about, I didn't realize this was even here. All of a sudden, it's their new favorite spot. And in other ways, can the community become involved with Explore Buffalo other than being a tour guide?
Yeah, so we have a couple different ways to volunteer. So in addition to leading tours, we also have volunteers who are called our tour assistants, who don't lead tours, and they're simply there to assist the docent throughout the tour. So, for example, with these free downtown tours we've been running, they've been filling up almost every time, which means we've got a group of 18, 20 people walking around downtown, and we want to have both a docent leading the group and also somebody there to just kind of help manage the group, make sure everybody crosses the street together and things like that. And so we have volunteers who do that as well. And then we also have a couple of large events each year. So the Twilight Tour of Mansions this week, and then Doors Open Buffalo in September, where we also welcome really anyone who wants to volunteer for a 2-3 hour shift. And in those cases, we'll talk about Doors Open, which is coming up in September. That one will need a couple hundred volunteers. We'll have around 25 to maybe 30 buildings downtown open for free for a full day on Saturday, September 30th. And so in every building, we've got, depending on the size of the building, it may be 5 or 6 volunteers to, a massive building like Old County Hall or something like that will need 10, 12, 15 people per 2 or 3 hour shift. So we need a lot of volunteers, and it's a lot of fun to talk to people. You don't need to be an expert on whatever building you're in. We'll give you a little bit. You may be, maybe you're in the lobby of Old County Hall. You'll point out 2 or 3 things in the lobby of Old County Hall, and then people are going to be moving on to the next stop. So we'll be recruiting volunteers for that starting this summer. So actually within the next couple of weeks, information about Doors Open volunteers will be available. And for people who may not be interested in volunteering but just want to be involved or support Explore Buffalo, we do have our membership, which is a great value, and it provides free walking tours for a full year. So for an individual, it's $60, family is $90, and you can take as many walking and bike tours as you want for an entire year for free and get some discounts on the other tours that we offer, like the Twilight Tour of Mansions. So we have some people who they take a different tour every single week or trying to take every single tour that we offer. So we keep them busy because we keep offering those new tours.
And are there any other upcoming events outside the Twilight Tour or any new tours this year that we should maybe know about?
So we do have coming up in August, we've got a fun little event, much smaller than the Twilight Tour. We have an event with author Lauren Belfer, who's the author of City of Light, one of the most popular books about Buffalo history, Buffalo at the turn of the 20th century. So she'll be doing a book talk and book signing with us. That's on Sunday, August 6th. So we've got tickets available for that on our website right now. And through the summer, we're just really busy offering tours, both for the public as well as for private groups. So we do a lot of tours for groups, whether they're companies, social clubs, and especially school groups. We just wrapped up our busiest couple of weeks of tours for school groups. So from mid-May to mid-June, almost every day, we had 100, 200 plus kids taking a tour with us. So.
Well, that's cool. I didn't realize that you could do private events too. Can you customize that experience, choosing different tours or?
Yeah, so with the menu of tours that we have available, most of the time we already have something that pretty closely matches what somebody wants. We can adjust it. If a group wants a downtown walking tour and they're some group that's staying at a downtown hotel, will start and end right at their hotel, things like that.
Nice.
And again, we can certainly work with groups to help build the tour. If they only want a half-hour tour or something like that, most of the tours we offer are 90 minutes. We'll do that for them.
Thanks for joining us, Brad. We really enjoyed diving a little bit deeper into what Explore Buffalo is all about. Good luck this week on the Twilight Tours, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for listening to this episode of Ciminelli Chats. Make sure to visit the Explore Buffalo tour calendar to check out all of the amazing offerings this season. There really is a tour for any interest. They can be found at www.explorebuffalo.org. Until next time.